The Denver Nuggets, is this going to be a dynasty? That's something I've seen a decent amount of people discussing after this championship, which is not necessarily new anytime a team does win a championship, especially a team that is as young as the Denver Nuggets are. Notably, Nikola Jokic is 28. I think Jamal Murray is like 26. Michael Porter like 24, 25. Aaron Gordon 26-ish. This is a team that could theoretically have their core all together for 8 years, with them all being like towards their peak. Like if Nikola Jokic starts to really show signs of decline at 36, then, you know, pack it in. But otherwise, there's definitely reason to believe this Denver core can be together for a very long time and win a lot of basketball. Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Buckets. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the YouTube algorithm. I do think that there is, of course, injury concerns that are worthy of mention. The issue with Denver in the last 2 years before this one has just been injuries. Like I've been saying for the longest time, after they traded for Aaron Gordon, they had like a 15-ish game stretch with them where Jamal Murray, and I think it might have been like 9 to 12 games actually, with Jamal Murray, all of them playing together, that core minus KCP in the starting lineup, of course, did all that. I had that team and they looked amazing. They looked really, really good. They looked like an excellent offense, as they'd always been, but like an even more excellent offense, and a team that could also lock down on D when it needed to. And then ACL tear, I think it was, for Jamal Murray, something like that. And for the next 2 years, the team could not get healthy. Michael Porter Jr. also has back issues. So injuries could, of course, get in the way of this, and that's worthy of consideration. But also, to be, completely honest about Denver here, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like they had the craziest matchups in the world. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, there were a bunch of teams well equipped to deal with what Denver had. In fact, I believe as the years go along, we're going to see teams specifically try and be like a Denver stopping team. Now, I truly do believe that Nikola Jokic, by virtue of his scoring and playmaking and how those skill sets bounce off of each other to make both sides of it unstoppable, I don't think Jokic will ever be quote unquote stoppable, but maybe a little bit more bothered. Granted, I mean, they had AD and Bam Adebayo thrown at him, both of them basically peaking defensively. Maybe not AD, but at the very least, I think AD was the best defender in the league this year. But I'm sure there's a way to scheme for this. I'm sure there's a way to potentially bother what Denver's offense is. But generally speaking, I think it really will just come down to health, as well as some other team not just, rising and just being simply a better team and a better offensive team. Because I think the only way you're going to beat Denver is by being a team that can score a shitload of points. I don't think you can be a team like Miami that's just this super defensive oriented unit that is cool on offense. Like, that's just not going to get it done. You have to be excellent on both sides of the floor to fuck with Denver. I do think it's interesting to ponder what is the possibility of like Victor Wembanyama potentially being that guy that bothers Nikola Jokic. Obviously, Vic is very low in terms of the muscle department. He's not a very big guy from a filling in his frame perspective. He's obviously 7'5" with like an 8-foot wingspan or whatever the hell it is. Because of that length, if he does put on some muscle in the year so he can manage to deal with Nikola Jokic in the post, I could see him being like the player who has the length to bother Jokic. Not only does Wemby have that super crazy length and that I guess it's just really the length that I'm referring to, but amazing defensive instincts, super good at blocking shots, and also super quick. I could definitely see him just being more agile than Jokic in ways that like gets him to like swipe at the ball at the right time, getting to spots earlier, recovering earlier. He also has a vertical leap that's pretty damn impressive for someone who's 7'5". So for Jokic, who has like this almost uncontestable like floater slash hook shot game, where I don't know if you've watched my video talking about it before, but like Nikola Jokic is extremely unique in the way that he scores. There's really no other player I can even think of who scores with the same type of shot diet that Nikola does, where he operates like technically in the paint, but it's like a lot of his shots are not point blank at the rim. It's floater type stuff, and he takes over 50% of his shots from there. And you need length to bother that. You need correct positioning to bother that, and you need tenacity to bother that. And even when you had AD and Bam Adebayo dealing with that, it still wasn't enough. But maybe, potentially, Wemby ends up being this defensive guy who's just like a freak of nature built to stop Nikola Jokic specifically. And of course, the Spurs are going to be in their conference, and presuming that they build a good enough team around Wemby, which might not, honestly not even be that freaking hard given how good he projects to be, you know, that could be something they have to deal with going down into the future. I do think Milwaukee defensively could be more likely to bother the Denver Nuggets than really anybody, just because they can have Brook Lopez be that. Obviously, this is within the next few years, not projecting long term into the future. You can have Brook Lopez be that big body who can, you know, deal with Jokic and won't just get pushed around by him, have good length to contest his shots, but then also have Giannis as that free roamer to hopefully time his contests properly to fuck with Nikola Jokic. But at the same time, you know, Jokic could probably counter that by, I assume, you know, Aaron Gordon would be who Giannis is defending here, you know, making the right pass at the right time. That's the trick. That's the tricky thing with defending him, is that just like you give him the slightest bit of advantage, either scoring or playmaking, and he'll find it and he'll make it, or whether it's the pass or the shot. So yeah, there's avenues to beat Denver. I'm not sitting here pretending like there's some unbeatable team, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to require almost specifically building your roster to stop it. And unless the offense on your side is also just super ridiculous, I don't even know if it's going to be possible. So the formula to beat this team is a formula that requires a lot of extreme things that are not easy to accomplish, which means the amount of actual genuine teams that can stop this team that they would run into, pretty far and few between. There would be a couple here or there, and you know, I guess that's the case for most contenders, but I could very, very easily see Nikola Jokic retiring with 4, 5, 6 rings. Even 6 is probably, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I think they could play for this. I think Jokic also, the thing that's worthy of mention, I didn't even talk about this, Nikola Jokic is probably going to age very gracefully. Now, who's to say for Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, given their injury stuff? Maybe not, and maybe the core is so different. It doesn't matter that Jokic is still good at 38 because he's surrounded by a bunch of scrubs. But like Jokic, being that he does not jump ever, being that he doesn't really physically strain himself a ton, he does run a lot more than you would think. In fact, I'm pretty sure he charted top 10 in terms of miles ran per game. But overall, not someone who puts his body in the position to get injured often. That's why he's always been an Iron Man. And I think he takes care of himself well enough. As much as people act like he's pudgy, he's in great NBA shape. He wouldn't be top 10 in running in the league if he wasn't. So yeah, I think there is reason to believe this team can win multiple championships. And man, I'm excited to see it because I love watching this team play. And it would make me look smart because I've been pushing the notion that this team can be really freaking good well before they were really freaking good. And I'm quite happy to see it. That is it. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video, and goodbye.